This is Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010.
How many languages can you speak? And if it's upwards of one, good for you. Congratulations. I'd say congratulations in another language, but I can't.
Felicitation. You can't say felicitation?
No. Can you?
Obviously not.
Okay. So, some people put their kids into French immersion. I have nieces and nephews in French immersion. In fact, I told a joke that was a play on words to my little nephew, and he didn't think it was funny. And he has an incredible sense of humor, and he's a funny little guy. Actually, here's the joke. For some reason, Wisconsin came up in conversation. And I said to him, do you know that Wisconsin is a state where they have a lot of cows and there's a lot of dairy products that come out of Wisconsin? And he said, okay. And I said, their theme is smell our derriere. And he just looked at me. I said, you don't think that's funny? And then he gives me the correct pronunciation in French, apparently, derrière or whatever it was. And I said, yeah, okay, whatever. But now, apparently, the Toronto Catholic District School Board wants to go further. Children as young as 4 could be taught in up to 4 languages every day at an unusual multi-language specialty school being proposed by the Catholic District School Board. The languages would be possibly French, Spanish, German, Mandarin as an immersion program. How would this work, and can kids handle a situation like that? Dr. Dina Kulik is a pediatrician, emergency medicine doctor, the woman behind drdina.ca. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
What's your reaction to this?
I'm a bit mixed. I think there's some, good things about it for sure. Kids that are immersed in multiple languages early on in life, bilingual kids, trilingual kids, they do tend to pick up the languages sooner, with more ease. And as long as they practice those languages, either at home or at work or at school, they tend to master them and keep them, lifelong. It's much, much easier to master a language if you learn it from a young age versus learning it as an adult.
Yep.
Which many adults can attest to if they're trying to learn those languages later.
Or if you've seen kids do it.
For sure. I have many kids in my practice that are trilingual. Each parent speaks a different language than English, and then they learn English at daycare or school. And it's great for them. It's good for business opportunities later on. It's good for teaching others. It's good if you marry someone that speaks a different language. So it's good for lots of reasons. Though I do worry about diluting it a little bit.
Yeah,
you spread out 4 or 5 languages. How much are you learning of each one?
Well, so Dr. Dina, I am in experience in my own family. My brother-in-law is American. He married a woman from Germany, and in fact, German was her first language. English is his. The kids would tend to speak to their father in English, to their mother in German, not because she wasn't learning English, she was, but because they wanted the kids to grow up bilingual and with the proper accent and all of that, and that's great. But I wonder if they would have been helped if, in addition to English and German, then when they went to school, they were expected to learn Spanish and Mandarin.
I think they probably would have done just fine. I mean, there's plenty of trilingual schools in Toronto and across the world, right? There's many private Jewish schools where they learn English and French and Hebrew, like I did when I was growing up. I then, tacked on Spanish to that in high school.
Did you really learn Hebrew?
I did, yeah.
Okay, because I studied French, and believe me, I'm horrible at it.
Right. My expressive language is pretty pitiful, but my receptive is very good. So now I have many Spanish-speaking patients, and I totally understand what they're saying, but my expressive is pretty pathetic, so I speak back to them in English. So, I haven't really practiced it too much, which is the thing. If I were to go, to a Spanish-speaking country, I would probably become relatively fluent again. And it's because I learned them at a young age. So I wouldn't be using like 5, 6 languages at school, but maybe 3 or 4. I think it's doable. I would want to dilute the other subjects though. So
I'm worried about that. Like, how are you going to teach 4 or 5 languages at school and also teach all the other subjects?
Right. I guess one idea is to teach, math and Spanish, and the French class would be social studies, and you're doing all of the regular classes, math and science and social studies, etc., but you're teaching them in different languages. That might be a good idea.
Well,
I don't know,
yeah,
they have to play with
maybe,
it.
but maybe not, because maybe if the kid's having a little trouble in math in the first place, suddenly trying to learn it in a language he or she doesn't really speak fluently could be a problem.
Sure. I don't think this would be the best educational experience for all children, but really no school is, right? I mean, some schools are great for one type of learner and some for another type. There's no perfect school for every kid.
Well, not according to a lot of feedback I get from listeners. Apparently the education system is perfect, Dr. Dina.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, there's some people who believe that. What I'm talking to Dr. Dina about, she's pediatrician, emergency medicine doctor. It's dr.dina.ca about a multi-language elementary school proposed by the Toronto Catholic Board. Now, they're not talking about doing this across the entire Catholic system, as I understand. So would this be the kind of thing that you think could be good for some students, and like an art school or a sports school, people would sort of opt into that school and put forth the effort to have their kids travel to that school for this purpose?
Yeah, why not? I think it might be a good fit for some kids that are particularly language strong.
Somebody just wrote to me, listening to what you were talking about, that maybe they could try teaching French in the Spanish class.
How does that work?
Mix it all up. Well, they're
Right.
just
There are many kids and families that I know that will say one sentence to me in 3 different languages. Like they just go back and forth with ease. That's pretty cool. If you're able to do that, your brain just is wired that way. And if you learn it early enough, your brain really is wired for language, and you're able to just go back and forth without any difficulties.
Would it complicate things, and I say this as a person who can only speak one language, but when I look at the languages they're talking about, French, Spanish, German, Mandarin. Well, English, French, Spanish, and German all come from some sort of similar root, don't they? Then all of a sudden Mandarin throws another wrench in the works.
Yes. Mandarin makes sense to me because it really is the language of the business world, and across the world, billions of people speak Mandarin. German makes less sense to me personally, but what I like about the Spanish and the English is they are like roots of other languages. Many people that understand Spanish also understand French and Italian and Portuguese. Similarly with German, the Eastern European languages, they might be able to use those languages relatively easily as well. And Mandarin just makes sense for me from a business perspective.
Dr. Dina Kulik, it's dr.dina.ca. Thanks very much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.